Hey, all you nerds with 3D printers who are fed up with the fascist fucks who call themselves ICE agents terrorizing immigrants in our neighborhoods. Hey, all you regular everyday Americans who are heartbroken and want to do something that actually fights back against ICE. Hey, all you activists and community organizers who are looking at ways to mobilize regular everyday folks and empower and equip them to stand up together against ICE. All y'all come here, because we got to talk about whistle brigades. Remember when I said that one of the ways you know that your resistance movement is winning is that you are diversifying your tactics? Remember when I said it's good to learn from other resistance movements in the past and elsewhere in the world what kinds of strategies and tactics have worked for them, but also to be open to the possibility that new tactics will emerge, that we are creative and adaptive, and that in the moment, in response to the specific terrible, awful things that the regime is doing, we, creative, adaptive people, can come up with new and effective ways to fight back. And we are seeing that Chicago has done just that. And more than that, they are anxious to share what they have developed with other communities around the country.
One sound for the pushback against ICE and Trump in Chicago. Whistles are all over the city right now, and people are using them to alert one another when ICE agents are nearby. I'm a Chicago Tribune reporter, and I saw this myself when I was reporting on an ICE arrest spree in Humboldt Park. My colleague Rebecca Johnson just wrote about it. She found that whistles are being handed out everywhere from adult stores to bars and cafes. There's even events where whistle kits are put together with zines and know your rights information, and tons were handed out Sunday during the No Kings rally. She learned that there's a basic system for how to communicate with them. A short whistle means there's a confirmed sighting of an ICE agent, and a long whistle means that someone's actively being detained. She heard one man even made 150 whistles with his 3D printer. There was story after story after story like that in her article. An Avondale restaurant owner already passed out 200 whistle kits and has 600 more to package. I think it's clear that these whistles are quickly becoming a main symbol for the pushback against ICE and Trump in Chicago.
This campaign is genius on so many levels. Not only is it effective in alerting the community, these whistles are really loud, alerting the community very quickly when ICE is present. You know, we talk about forming rapid response teams and having signal chats or like a phone tree or texting each other when ICE rolls up in our neighborhood so we can all come out and do what needs to be done to document and to have legal observers present, and maybe people are going to get up to some civil disobedience. And let's be real, the only options aren't just stand back and document or potentially engage in civil disobedience. There's lots of perfectly legal, disruptive actions that you can take. Remember, nonviolent direct action needs to be disruptive. There's a ton of footage from California and Los Angeles and New York and DC and here in Portland where ICE agents are rolling up and the community turns out and there is lots of shaming. I'm not a big fan of shaming in general, but with ICE, it's very effective. Just the presence of enough people in the community. These guys are chicken shit cowards. They feel emboldened because they are obscuring their identities. They don't want their grandma to know what they're up to. They don't want to have to explain to their kids at the dinner table how they zip-tied other children, how they pepper sprayed elderly veterans, how they shot rubber bullets into the heads of pastors. Children are screaming for their parents as they are being dragged off and stuffed into concentration camps. So they obscure their identity and they think that that gives them a measure of power. These are deeply insecure men who are not confident in what they are doing. That's why I made a video where I was like, you need to articulate your rights. These guys don't know the law. They're not actually confident in themselves. Everything they're doing is like a big fat cope for how insecure they are, how small they are, how they are the fail sons of law enforcement. So when we show up in large numbers and we're like, get the fuck out of here. We don't want you here. No ICE on our street. Shame on you. You know what you're doing is wrong. Shame on you. How do you look your mother in the face? How do you sleep at night? How do you take communion on Sunday? Is it worth it? Is it worth it for you to sell your soul, to brutalize grannies, to zip-tie children? I hope your conscience troubles you every single day of your life. Every family that you destroyed, I hope they haunt your dreams. That kind of shit actually is very effective. We've seen many instances of ICE that chickens out and they drive off. And presented with a large group of unarmed people who just like roll out of their houses, roll out of the businesses and onto the streets. Having a whistle brigade to alert everybody, these fuckers are in our neighborhood. Yeah, it's a fantastic tool. Let me show you a quick example from Chicago from the other day. And then I want to talk about how it is that you can form a whistle brigade, how it is that you can empower people, resources for how to print the zines and the whistles and make these whistle kits that you can hand out. But first, watch this in Chicago.
I don't know if you can hear that, but I'm walking down my street right now. You hear all that whistling and that yelling? That's ICE abducting people in our neighborhood. This is like in Chicago right now. We're just in a peaceful neighborhood. Saturday morning, there's a fucking kids parade coming up for Halloween. You got ICE agents rolling through.
So this is what civil resistance looks like right now in Chicago, and we really need to emulate these tactics everywhere. Everybody just started pouring out of their houses when they heard those whistles. That kind of bravery, that kind of courage, that's what we all need right now. ICE is not welcome anywhere in any neighborhood. And whistle brigades are a quick, effective way to communicate to people and to spur them to act. Whistles are also really fucking genius because they're a great symbol. With any kind of resistance movement, symbols are so important, right? There was that guy who threw the Subway sandwich. Here in Portland, there's the Frog Brigade. There's Jack in his chicken suit. In Chicago, it's the whistle. And activists in Chicago have shared with activists in Portland their resources so that we can copy what they're doing. First off, they're brand new. Go follow Migro Whistle on Instagram. They're helping spread information and coordinating whistle brigades here in the Portland metro area. They call themselves Portland's ICE Alert Whistle Coalition, I believe. And then you want to go to migrowhistle.carrd.co. And that's where you can find information on how to build whistle kits, how you can 3D print whistles. You can also order them in bulk off of eBay. There are folks who are anxious to use their 3D printers to churn these guys out. But a great form of craftivism, if you are someone with a 3D printer and you're like, yes, this is how I can contribute, you can find the pattern for your printer on this website. There's also the zine that folks in Chicago have made public and shared so that you can print that off and fold it and put it into the whistle kit so that folks have instructions. There's know your rights information. We're trying to make these little kits and hand them out. I think this is a great addition to the perk bracelets that Indivisible is making here, I think especially in District 3. Are Taylor Swift style beaded bracelets, but they have the Portland Immigrants' Rights Coalition hotline number on them. So that if you see ICE in your neighborhood, you just look at your wrist and you're like, oh, yeah, I can call that number. It's also to hand out to immigrants so that if they are snatched by ICE or their family member is, they have that phone number accessible when they're in detention or their family member has been detained. They can call that hotline and get resources. This is a great addition. These are the kind of craftivism things when we're having our trainings, when we're having our, regular meetings of our grassroots groups. We can all be cutting and folding zines. We can all be making beaded bracelets for perk. We can be putting together these bracelet kits and these whistle kits and then just hand them out everywhere. This is what grassroots activism looks like. It's not bold and sexy and cinematic, but this is what effective resistance looks like. Regular, everyday people willing to take small risks, willing to step out and courage, trusting that their neighbors will also, right? That guy rolled out onto his street in Chicago, trusting that his neighbors would all be out there, and they were. We all get to build relationships and build solidarity with each other, build community trust as we take these small actions together and aggregate our power. Civil resistance, y'all. What we do as regular, everyday, ordinary Americans can be tremendously impactful. Who keeps us safe? We keep us safe. It was never going to be politicians that were going to save us. It was never going to be the court that was going to save us. It was always going to be the American people who come together, aggregate our power, all engage in our small acts of resistance and pool together so that we can wield that power really effectively. We all get to do our small little tasks, but we're all connected to each other. Be that first person who's willing to blow the whistle. Be the first person who's willing to show up when you hear your neighbor blow a whistle. When we act together, they cannot stop us. Solidarity, mass collective action, hyper-local resistance. These are really, really effective tools, and I'm so grateful that Chicago has developed this whistle coalition system. I'm anxious to see Portland pick it up as well, and I hope it will be useful for your neighborhood too.